So thanks for joining me. We're going to do a full body workout, but we're going to focus on a little bit of lower body first, and then we're going to do some work with the box. So if you guys could start in your footwork settings, 2.5 springs or half spring lighter than what your normal footwork springs are, please. So if you do less than 3 springs normally, then do lighter than 2.5. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so you can either sit cross-legged across the reformer, straddling it, or you can sit up on your legs like I'm going to. So kind of perched up on your feet. So if you just take your hands behind your head, round your back forward, stretch through your lower spine, kind of round through the spine, get a little stretch and opening through the back of your t-shirt. And then press into the hands and lift your heart to the ceiling. And do that a couple times, rounding through the back of the body and opening up to the ceiling. And continue a couple more times, rounding forward, opening up to the ceiling. Nice. You'll get a lot more mobility. If there's nothing going on with your knees, then I'd recommend sitting the way I am. You'll get more stretch to your lower back. But of course, do what works for your body. Today, I'm going to turn and face the other direction just so you can see what I'm doing, but you stay facing the foot bar is fine. So as you round forward, try to stretch to your lower back. And then as you lift up, try to press your hands back, try to lift your sternum to the ceiling. Once you get up to the ceiling to vertical, stay there. You're going to side bend a little bit one way. And you can feel the hips want to offset slightly to the opposite side. That's fine. And then come back up. So you're making a cashew shape to one side and then to the other side. And one side, good. And to the other. And you can let the hips shift a little bit. Then we're going to combine this all together, rounding forward. In a big circle, you come to the other side. You lift up and back, heart to the ceiling and around, like about 3 times one direction. Lifting the sternum, lifting the chest, and around. And when you're done with this third one, reverse the direction, circling around. Lifting the chest to the ceiling and around. One more time. And then lifting back up. Good, we're gonna come back to these motions in a bit. Well, for now, let's lay down on our backs, put your feet up on the foot bar. You can have the headrest however it's comfortable. Both heels on the bar in line with the center of the hip joint, and push the carriage out and in a few times. Just pushing out and in should feel pretty light. You're gonna work on this light spring tension, trying to not snap the knees to straight, but trying to press the knees to straight. And then you're going to alternate lifting one leg, setting that foot down, lifting the other leg, setting it down. So it's like you're marching in place. So about 6 marches and 6 full presses out and in. On your own timing, pushing out and in. When you're using both legs, it's harder to keep the control because it feels lighter. When you're using one leg, it's obviously heavier. Trying to keep the pelvis level. You don't have to straighten the leg all the way when you're on the one leg. And one more round, the whole thing. Pushing out, pulling in. Nice. And you should be finishing up. If you're not quite done yet, just Take another moment to push out and in a few times. And then we're gonna bring our toes down onto the bar, push out and go into our running, kind of pawing through the feet. Push, pull, feeling, opening up the calf, the back of the lower leg. Trying to not just sink into the stretching foot. Should have a buoyancy to this movement. Push, pull, push, pull. And then bend the legs and come all the way back in. Put your heels wide to the corners of the bar. Push the legs out with turned out legs. Turn the knees in towards each other to come in. And so you're just articulating, pivoting on the heels, pushing out, pulling in, pushing out, and pulling in. And this motion is going to be handy for us in a minute. So trying to make it fluid. It's not about the knees literally touching each other. It's about you moving within the range that is a comfortable range for your hip joints. And if you can reverse that, knees are towards each other as you press out, away from each other as you come in. Awesome. Yeah, and on this light spring tension, it should feel like your heels can pivot kind of easily, that you can make it really smooth, like you're on rotational discs. Yes, last one. And come all the way back in. Just sit up for a moment to take the half spring off so you just have 2 red springs. Lay back down and you're gonna put your feet into the straps. Once you get your feet in the straps, you're gonna press your legs out to your start position. Rotate your legs turned out. And we're just gonna go into a big V as wide as we can make it, and then press the legs back towards each other. So like a capital V, really wide, and then pressing back heels towards each other to make the lower part of the V. Try to go for full range, keeping everything else from wiggling around. And then we're gonna add part of our frog motion to this. You open out to the V, then bring your heels towards your tail and then push back out to the diagonal. So you're in this big stretched out position. So it should feel like you have to stretch further to get your heels to come together to be able to come back to the home. And press, opening through the legs, bending the heels in, pressing out. Big range. Sometimes I have you do this in a more controlled range. This is the range that is as big as you can make it. Nice. V. Try to make sure your legs finish in the V straight before you bend them. Some of you are getting there and you're already bending the legs, and it's probably you're going too big. And then reverse it, bend into your froggy, open wider to your V, and then press out. Bend into the frog, wide to the V, and press. So bend in full range. You don't have to stop at tabletop, which is what I mean by full range. Bending in, open the legs wider, press out on the diagonal. Bend in, open the legs wider, press out on the diagonal. 3 more. One more time. And then hold the legs out on the diagonal, turn out. Just open and close the legs, keeping the carriage from moving, or more or less from moving. It might move a centimeter. Take your legs as low as you can, stabilize the abdominals. Open, close, open, close. Then once the legs are closed, bend in, press out, open, close. Beats, bend in, press out, open, close. As you do that open, close, finding that reach through the legs. So you're trying to push out over the foot bar. You should be feeling some inner thigh action here. Trying to get them stronger, trying to get the legs to be more open. Open, close, bend in, press up, open, close. Of course, you can go slower if you need to, but you guys have done this exercise quite a few times, so I think you can pick up the speed a little bit. Two more. And then hold the legs out on the diagonal. Small circles like the size of a basketball, more or less the carriage not moving, out on that diagonal. Circling, circling. Carriage has to move an inch or two. Stay turned out, the legs come all the way together in the center each time. Yeah, bring the inside of your inseam of your pants together. Keep the legs together then and take the legs up the ceiling as far as you can, keeping your pelvis down, and then press back out. Do that again. Lifting way up and pressing down. Two more, just opening up through the back of the leg. And one more time, lifting up and press down. And now start this in a smaller range. So stay turned out as your legs go up. Turn your legs in as you press down. Turn out as you lift up. Turn in as you press down. So knees point away from each other. Knees point towards each other. Knees point away from each other and towards each other. And as you kind of continue, you can inch into a bigger range. One more time. Press down on the diagonal. Take your legs apart, turned out about as wide as the foot bar. Bend your legs in like a second position on the foot bar. Turn in and then press out. Bend in, turn in, press out. So exactly what we did on the foot bar. Keep your feet high enough that the ropes aren't an issue. Smoother than what you did on the foot bar, because your legs are able to freely move. If you can reverse it, go for it. Bend in, knees in, press out, knees out. Two more. And last one. Press your legs out, bring your legs all the way together, turn them out. Big leg circles, 4 in each direction on your own timing. Finding full sweep of the legs and reverse the direction. And last one. And then bend your legs in, take your feet out of the straps and put the straps back on the post of the shoulder rests. Come off of the reformer. Switch to a spring tension that you'll be able to use for arms facing forward. So one red spring will be probably the heaviest you would want. You also can switch your stopper to the universal setting, gear bar 2, stopper 2. I'd suggest starting with maybe a half spring. It's meant to be heavy, but not impossible. Again, you can straddle, or you could sit on a platform if that was more comfortable to you. Straps in the hands, and you're just pressing your arms in front of you and then opening your arms back up. And today, not always, but today I'm going to have you open up beyond just to your side here. I want you to open up so you feel like you open the front of the chest. Pressing one way and then the other. As your fingertips come towards each other and away from each other, feel like you're thinking about what the spine wants to do. You can feel it wants to flex and extend a little bit. So we're going to go into that flexion as you press the arms forward, Let the elbows bend and open the chest to the ceiling as you extend. Rounding and extending and lifting. Yeah, beautiful. Again, being up on the knees like I am gives you a little bit more access to move through the lower back, but it's not necessary if it doesn't feel comfortable. Opening the chest and the sternum. So bend the elbows to open the sternum. And 3 more. You want to feel like you've picked a resistance through this that's heavy enough that it starts to add up to some work here, or else we'd have to do 1,000 of them before you'd feel anything. The only 2 ways to get stronger are increase the resistance or do more reps. So reach the arms forward, turn your palms down, lift your arms up to the ceiling and circle around. And then like you're holding 2 trays or a tray, big tray, reach forward and around and press up. So you're bending your elbows to reach forward, the palms turn to face down, your arms go overhead and you circle around. If you can add your spine to this, so flex forward to press forward, lift the sternum and the chest, circle around, bend the elbows in and do it again. Once you get the flexion happening through the spine, as your arms go up, you can extend your spine. Usually bending the elbows a little bit will help with that. So when your arms go overhead, instead of keeping them perfectly straight, bend the elbows and feel like you're prying the front of your collarbones open, then scoop forward again. Yeah. Nice. And 2 more of whatever you're doing. And when you're done with that, you're going to reach one arm forward and then bend it back in. And then the other arm forward and bend it back in. If you'd like to add to this position, you could tuck your toes under at the shoulder rest. You of course have to be careful to not feel like you're going to tip over, but extend the hips, then sit back down. Lots of balance here. So sitting is totally fine. Make sure, if you couldn't sit on your knees a moment ago, just sitting there, then I wouldn't recommend adding all this to it. Yeah. Make sure, Carrie, that you end up vertical, so you're not slightly tipped forward. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Start to turn and look in the direction your back arm, so you're rotating away from the front arm, like pulling a bow and arrow, you look away. And, well, you probably don't look away when you're pulling a bow and arrow, but I haven't done that in a long time, so I can't say I remember. Probably not recommended. And pull the bow and sitting back, and pull the bow, sitting back. Nice. One more on each side. And then coming back, press, either sitting on your heels still, press the arms forward, bring the hands back behind the head so your elbows are near your ears, and then just press the arms forward. You can be vertical if you're sitting down, or sitting lower with your feet flat, you can hinge forward. So as you're pressing the arms forward, feel like you're trying to keep wide across the top of the shoulders. Nice. If it's too easy, feel free to just do one arm at a time, bend it back in. Then the other arm, tricep press, bend it back in. Tricep press, one arm. Obviously, it's double the resistance, so it just depends on where you started. And press, awesome. Everyone looks great. And last one, straighten the arms overhead, circle the arms around, and bring the straps back to your shoulder rest. Switch to one red spring. And just briefly turn to face the side. The closer you are to the shoulder rest, the less flexible you have to be. So you might start kind of close to the shoulder rest. Put one foot on the bar. If you can't get your foot up there, then move further to the shoulder rest. So push with the arms and the legs to push the carriage out. If you're sliding, feel free to adjust. So you're just stretching the legs apart, opening through your inner thighs. And you can stay on your hands, or you can come up to balancing over the leg. Obviously, this standing leg has to work harder. So in some ways it's easier. Bring the hands behind the head. Obviously, we don't want any accidents, so make sure you're picking the option that works best for you. As you press out, you can add a little side bend towards the leg as you come in, side bending the other way. If you're struggling with balance, keep your hands down. They could even be up on the shoulder rest. I don't want anybody falling over here. Yeah, so not meant to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Just a little bit more hamstring lengthening. So side bending one way, pull it in, side bending the other way. And last time, could add your arms and make it bigger. Some ways, again, that makes it easier in one way, harder in another. And then you'll come all the way back in. Switch your springs. You probably need at the most 3/4 springs, maybe even a half. Slide up against the shoulder rest, lunge through the lower body, and then just bringing the knee underneath you. You might find that you've gotten stronger than when you did this last, and that you can add a little bit more resistance. So maybe 3/4 works for you. We're not going to do a million, so it needs to be heavy enough you feel something. Yeah, nice. Good, Dana. Try to keep lifting the torso up. Reach the arms out to the side. Lift up taller. Try not to change this knee on the rail. And pull, return, and pull. 3, 2, and last one. Bring the carriage all the way back in. If the carriage starts moving around a lot, then we'll put more springs on. Put your hand down on the carriage, lift the leg up, and big circles. Yeah, keeping the torso nice and stable. Reverse your direction. 8, 7, 6, 5. You could do this standing if it was too much on the knee. And then bring your leg back in. Do a sort of swivel to the other side. Switch back to your one red spring. Start with the hands down. Back your knees up so your foot can kind of go forward on the foot bar. And then push the carriage out a couple times to find your balance, to find the positioning you need to be in. And when you feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable, you can add by lifting your torso up to vertical. You can add your side bending. Usually means you have to slow down a little bit. Nice, everybody good. I can see you in the mirror. And If you added long arms on the other side, you can add those long arms here. Just opening up the hips a bit. And one more of whatever you're doing. And then come all the way back in, set your leg down, switch to your inner thigh spring, 3/4 spring perhaps. Foot out on the railing, lunge out, arms to the side, pull the carriage underneath you. As you're pulling the knee underneath you, feel like you're lifting up through the midline. And 4. Last one. Leave your leg on the carriage where it is. Set your hand down on the carriage. Lift the outside leg up and big circles. Circling above the ropes. Knee is really straight. And reverse the direction. Laser beam out through the foot. So you're getting laser beam out through the top of the head and the foot. Long a line as you can make. And then bringing your leg back in. Switch back to your one red spring. Come to kneeling with your feet tucked under at the shoulder rest, kind of like your knee stretches position, but I want you to push the hips open and bring the carriage back in. So you're just changing the hip joint. It's different than your knee stretches. Push to a plank, pull back in. Push to a kneeling plank or half plank and come back in. Then if that's going well, you can stay in the plank, try to lift the sternum up to the ceiling and look towards the ceiling. And you can push that shape out and in, down stretch a couple times. Trying to send the hips forward, kind of be in a bowed spine, looking up towards the ceiling, sending your hips towards the foot bar. On your next one, bring the carriage in and flex at the hips to send the hips back. Good. Push out through the arms. So you're sinking through the chest, pushing yourself out as far as you can so you get a big stretch through your back, through the lats, through the side of the ribs. And then just a small scoop, like you're trying to lift your belly button away from your thighs. And then flatten back out. Send the heart forward, go into extension. And dome the belly away from the thighs. Reach back out, lift the sternum. You might need to bend the elbows a little bit to do that. And press through the elbows as you round your back. Lengthen, bend the elbows a little bit to extend the spine. Twice more, just getting our spines moving more. Extend, and last one, scooping. Reach out and extend. Bring the carriage all the way back in. Let's put the foot bar down. You can keep your one red spring and grab your box. The box is going to come up onto the reformer, the long box, and we're going to be laying facing towards the pulleys. Chest over the front of the box. Yeah, nice. All right. Grab a hold of your ropes, but put your hands on the railing or on the carriage. Reach to your legs. Just flex your upper back forward. Feel how you have to round over that sternum area. And then as you lengthen to neutral, crown of the head and the feet away from each other, feel like you're pulling yourself forward into a little bit of extension. And again, rounding over the sternum. Lengthen and extend. And then we're going to add that to our arm movements. So Flexing forward, arms pulled down as you lift through neutral into extension. And as you continue, if you want it to be heavier, move your hands further forward on the ropes. Trying to get that spine moving, kind of like it's making two different J shapes. Then separate your legs and rotate your legs turned out. Keep them really straight and active. Press back towards your hips. See if you can lift up a little further, circle the arms around. So use the resistance of the rope to help you lift up a little more into extension. Pull yourself up. Nice. Good, Anita. And reverse the direction of your circles. The spine does the same thing. A little harder in this direction. One more time. Beautiful. And then you can set your straps down with them on the shoulder rests and scooch back a little bit so that more of your thighs are hanging off the back of the box. Hold on to the carriage so you're not going to slide off the back. Rotate your legs turned out and just beat your legs together, 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 together. Try to keep the carriage still. And if you can add, alternate between flexed feet, pointed feet, flexed feet, pointed feet. If that's too much, don't worry about adding that. Should feel like you're working to hold the height of the legs. See if you can lift your legs an inch, Dana. Yeah, yes. And then bring your legs down. If you can slither forward, go for it. Otherwise, you can come off the box if you need to get back on. And then bring your legs into that turned out position. Reach your arms forward. Long, narrow X shape. Opposite arm and leg lifts a little higher. Opposite arm and leg lifts a little higher. You can take this as fast as you can maintain this X shape. Like you're laying on a paddleboard and you don't want to tip over into the water. So it's controlled, but playful. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Lower back down. Come off of the box, and you're going to switch to your short box position. So if you're on a stott reformer, box against the shoulder rests. Most likely you're in the second D ring, and then your footwork settings, unless you know that it's something else. Awesome. So then we're going to sit on the box. We're going to make sure we have at least a hand's distance behind us. So there's a little space back here that we're not going to fall into the well. Hands stacked on top of each other. Let's bring the elbows up today in front of you. Round the pelvis under, scoop through the lower back, go down as far as you can flex and feel safe, and then sit back up and simultaneously lengthen through the spine. Do that a couple times, rounding back, scooping, and coming back up. If you want to layer to this, we're going to round back, lift the arms up, keep them up, and repeat. So round back, keep the arms overhead, come back up, rounding back, lengthening through the spine. Make sure that you're really rounding and initiating from the pelvis, spinning underneath you. That's right. Like you're trying to bring the waist of your pants towards the box behind you. Then you're going to round back into a position you can hold. If you want to add to this, rotate to one side, center, rotate to the other side. The straighter your arms are away from your head, the heavier the lever, the harder. can be down here too. And coming back forward, this time round forward over your legs, let your head hang. You can touch the carriage with your hands if you want. Stretch the back out. And sit up really tall. And let's take the arms again, hand to elbow, and then lift the arms overhead. And you're just gonna hinge back just a little bit, just test the waters, looking forward, and then come back up to vertical. So it's like you lean back, you keep the abdominals pulled in, and you sit back up. Hinging back. And come up. Yeah. Obviously, you can go further than I am if it feels controlled and like you have the strength to. Nice. And last time, hinging back and sitting back up. Take one foot out of the strap, grab the inside hand to the back of the knee and the outside hand towards your ankle, and just try to straighten and bend your leg. If that goes pretty well, you could put both hands nearer to your ankle. Gives you a little bit more support. If you'd like to add to this, grab the ankle, keep the leg straight, and just tip the shape back a little bit and tip it back forward. Keeping the leg as straight as you can. Obviously, you're holding yourself up with that leg that's underneath the foot strap. Knock on wood, I've never seen anyone tip over here. So you just have to make sure your foot is connected. Yeah. And if that feels good and you want to go further, you can walk the hands down, extend the spine, walk back up your leg, come back up. And then we'll switch to the other leg. So extension, only extend if you can get your lower back near the box. It doesn't make sense to extend up here really. So switch the feet, and you can start by extending and bending the leg, finding how you're gonna hold yourself with the strap. And if that feels pretty good, both hands can stay, and you can just tip the shape backwards and forward a few times. Like there's a seatbelt across the pelvis, and you're just tipping backwards and forward, but that seatbelt stays there. Yeah, nice. And then if you'd like to continue, you can walk the hands down, go into your extension, and walk your hands back up. Just having the hands walking up and down gives you a little bit extra support from the arms. And then coming back in. Awesome. Keep that foot underneath the strap, or the foot that'll allow you to turn to face towards the camera. Foot is pushing up into the strap. The bottom foot is going to hook behind the ankle or up towards the knees. You could start by just finding this straight line from your foot to the top of your head. So you're not sinking in the ribs, you're in one long line. And then either side bending using your hand to help you, or you can bring your hand across your abdomen, the other arm overhead, and go for the full motion without the support of the hand. Try not to have it be the elbow though. I feel like that's a little too collapsed. Pushing against the side of the box, or maybe sliding the hand down here, but that feels like quite a bit of ability to push as well. So long line, side bend to the floor, long line, side bend to the floor. Two more. And last one, use your arms, use your abs to sit all the way back up and turn around to face the other direction. Hook your foot, knee and toes are pointed forward. Bottom foot is anywhere from the back of the knee towards the ankle. Hand on the side of the box or across the abdomen. Find your long line, then side bend towards the floor. Lift up into that long line. Curve towards the floor. Lengthen up. And just using your breath however it helps you, as long as it's continuously moving, you're not holding your breath. 3 more. And last one. Come all the way back up. We're gonna bring the box in front of the shoulder rests. And we're gonna bring the foot bar back up. You most likely have 2 red springs on. Keep those springs. So you're gonna sit on the box. There's not a lot of room here, but the carriage should move easily. Sorry, I said on the box, but in front of it. It should feel like you can move the carriage pretty easily. It's not like real heavy. If it's real heavy, then adjust the springs. But you're gonna push out enough that you can bring your feet up onto the box. Onto the bar, mixing my words. Put your elbows back, bring the carriage in and lay your upper body back. Put your hands under your head. Why are we doing this? Well, we're working on getting towards our semicircle, and this is an easier position to do it in. So you're in a little bit of extension, push the carriage out and bend back in. Parallel with the legs for now. Doesn't feel hard, it should just feel like you're in a kind of new, strange position. One more time. And then you're gonna, if you wanna add to this, you're gonna see if you can wiggle further forward so that your head can be down on the box. Your feet, heels are together, toes are apart, and you can hold on wherever it helps you to stay connected. You're gonna lift the hips up. So you're gonna round through the upper back as you press the carriage out. You can drop the pelvis a little. We're not gonna straighten the knees all the way. Come in, round the pelvis under and roll back up. Yeah, let me watch. Yeah, so if you know semicircle, you know it's a really hard position to be in. That looks awesome, Carrie. You're welcome to do that instead, semicircle. You're also welcome to lighten the springs if it feels like the springs are kind of taking over and shoving you off the box, then they're probably just a little too heavy. So it should feel like the springs are very controllable. So you push out, you roll through the back, pull it in, roll up. Not full range, so you're letting your knees stay slightly bent the whole time. One more time. And then coming all the way back in. Slide yourself back on the box. You can sit down once you have the edge of the box there and swing yourself off to the side. And we're gonna take the box, put the box away. And 1.5 springs should be good. Put it, lock the foot bar, make sure it's locked. Hands and toes are on the carriage reformer. Foot bar, round your back up towards the ceiling. Round your spine as much as you can, push the carriage out and pull it back in. So round back elephant, pushing out and pulling in. Yeah, nice. And then we're gonna alternate between 4 elephants like we're doing. Then we're gonna bend the knees, round, keep the spine round and do 4 knee stretches. It's pretty light for knee stretches, so it should feel very manageable. Rounding the back, feel the bottom ribs pulling up to the ceiling. 4, 3 elephants, 2, and last 1. Bend the knees, round back, bend the elbows a little bit, looking more down at the springs. Then For elephants, rounding, you're looking through the legs. Nice. And last set of knee stretches, push, pull. Try not to get your butt so high. Your shoulders should be the same height as the legs and the hips. Ginge, lift your upper body a lot. Yeah, that's better. Same thing, Grace. Your upper body is too low and your butt's too high. So kind of scooping around. Do a couple extra of those knee stretches if you can. I know we've been working on this position. That's better. Round your back, push out. Try not to be maxed out in your shoulder extension. So your face is somewhere over the foot bar. Maybe your forehead's over the foot bar. Yeah, nice, Anita. Nice, Anne. Last one. Bring yourself back down. Put your foot on the wooden platform in front of you. One foot against the shoulder rest. Should feel pretty light to extend. You can drop your heel kind of down towards the springs. Adjust your foot as necessary. And then come back in. Do that one more time. Depending on the length of your foot, you might have to be more on the arch against the wood. Yeah, awesome. Switch sides. Pressing out, opening through the legs, focusing on the opening of that back hip. And then come all the way back in. And we're gonna switch to, I would say 3/4 springs, probably will work for everybody. And locate your straps and put the straps someplace you'll be able to get them. We'll have the headrest down. You're gonna be on your forearms. Of course, you could do this laying on your side if you preferred, and put your foot in the loop. Press your leg out, lift the ribs off of the shoulder rest so they're not resting into it. Big ovals in front of you so you're not hitting yourself in the face with it. Nice, that looks great. And then reverse. My bottom hip is down. You don't have to hold your hip up off of the carriage. That is just extra bonus points if you want to do that. Some of you are, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Good job, Grace and Ann. Making it harder. Last one. Bend your leg in, press your leg out. Just like we were doing when we were laying on our back, we're going to be turned out, turned in, turn out, turn in. So you're trying to find the swivel in the hip joint. Reverse it. 4, 3, 2, and last one. And bring the leg back in. Carefully take the strap off. Flip over to your second side. Once you're on the second side, put your top foot in the loop and start with your ribs lifted off. You're pushing down through that bottom arm. Big circle. Second side might be harder because it already worked to support the first side. Reverse for 6 more. 6. Last one. And then bend in, turned out, press out, turn in. 4, 3, swiveling at the hip. 2, and last one, reverse. 4, 3, try to make it smooth. 2, and last one, coming all the way back in. You can take your foot out of the strap, and we're going to come to kneeling facing the side. So play around with your springs, maybe start near 3/4 springs, either sitting cross-legged facing the side or kneeling, holding the strap on the inside hand, internal rotation. So usually this is easier than going externally. So often people feel like they can do a heavier spring on this. If it's a little too light, just move towards the foot bar. If it's a little too heavy, move towards the shoulder rest. Nice. If you'd like to add to this, you're gonna take your arm, like you're standing in a door frame, you're reaching up and down that door frame. You don't have to straighten the elbow all the way. If you can, go for it, but it gets harder as you get higher up. Awesome, Martina. Make sure your elbow bends, Grace, and then goes towards straight versus it staying almost in the same shape. That is an exercise, it's just a different one. Yeah. And then as your arm is straightening, everybody, your arm isn't kind of going away from you, you're going straight up a door frame, which is harder to feel when you have the strap on your hand. Good. Switch hands. Pressing your elbow and arm out to the side, high diagonal, back down. So drawing a sword, finding internal, external rotation. Last one. Two choices. Option A is just external rotation here. Option B would be long arm abduction. So you're lowering and lifting from the side. Two more. And last one. Hopefully you guys feel that as you've been doing more of these classes, because you guys are all very consistent, that the spring tension you're using is getting heavier. If that isn't happening, I'd encourage you to find the moments that it is possible so that you are really truly building strength. So starting with facing the back, internal rotation, so the strap is in the hand closer to the shoulder rest. If it's just a little too light, grab up a little higher on the rope, it'll increase the tension. If you want to add to this, we'll do that kind of chicken wing up the door frame motion. Reaching up. As you reach up, you're trying to not side bend or lean away. Nice, everyone. One more time. Then taking the strap in the other hand, drawing your sword up on the high diagonal, bending and bringing it back across. Elbow leads and reach up to the high diagonal. Saturday Night Fever here. Keep your hips facing forward like two headlights. Last one. Then either external rotation, where your elbow stays by your side and you just rotate, or your hand comes down towards your hip and you're pressing that long arm out to the side, like you're trying to reach out over the foot bar. Pressing out over the foot bar. Awesome. Or your external rotation is good as well. Last two. And last one. And bring the carriage all the way back in. Sit straddling the carriage. Sorry, Hazel, watch your nose. And hold on to the shoulder rests. Pull, bending your elbows, lift your sternum and pull yourself through. And then round back away. I like to put my legs up here when I'm rounding back so that they're up high enough that I feel like I have more leverage. And then I set my feet down when I'm going into the extension part. Your choice. Lifting up, kind of pull yourself forward like a wave and then push against the shoulder rest and round back. Pull yourself forward like a wave and push yourself back. Yeah, nice. Just do two more of however this feels good to you. And last one. Good. And then you guys are all done. Good job. Thanks for joining me.